Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's early in the morning in the UK. Oh, 2 seconds. I've got an incoming call. Have to excuse me 2 seconds. I'm actually live on Facebook and can't answer you at the moment. However, please feel free to come into the group. Nice to have you with us, whoever's watching. Remember, you have to comment on this video to get your 50% code. It's ready for you. So if you do drop a comment while we're live this evening, then you get that discount code to use in the month of April. Okie dokie, so let's kick off our live Q&A tonight. Quickly with some introductions. My name is Catherine. You're listening to KISS, which is Keto, It's Simple for Success. And I'm really excited to be talking to you across the Atlantic. A lot of people are going to be joining us from the US and Canada and elsewhere tonight, so we're really excited about that. We're actually here, the theme of the evening is starting with keto, so how to begin at the very beginning and how to keep keto simple, sustainable and enjoyable. So we're going to be talking a bit about that, and I'm going to be talking about big news in my life, which is the launch of the 28-day meal plan and beginner's guide. The launch date is Tuesday, the 3rd of April. So on this coming Tuesday, you can get your hands on the plan, which is really exciting stuff. And I hope lots of you find it really interesting and enjoyable. It's a plan that's been trialed with over 60 people. During the 28 days of the trial, the average weight loss was 10 pounds, which is fantastic. And it's all very simple stuff. It's very much designed by me. I'm not a chef. I'm not even a very good cook. However, I can put some food together and hopefully you'll find that it's enjoyable meals and it's 100% ketogenic and will put you on the road to achieving your keto goals. So if you're here and you're watching, please drop a comment. You can just say hello. You can tell me where you're watching from, or you can pose me a question, because after all, it is a live Q&A. So if you are there, please do say hello, and so I don't feel too lonely. So what we'll do then, while we're waiting for people to start dropping their questions, is just speak to the people who are catching us not so live. So if you can't catch me live, thank you so much for watching the replay. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks so much for being with me. I'd love you to drop a little thumbs up on the video, and I would love for you to subscribe to the channel for more of this sort of stuff. Okay, moving along then. We're going to talk about how to start a ketogenic way of life. So what are the basics and how do we get started? So I've had a little bit of a brainstorm, and I've written a couple of bits of content around this, and hopefully these are sort of my top tips for getting going. So the first one I thought about was what to do in the days before you start. Now, because it's such a big dietary change, usually there's a period of time between thinking, right, that's it, I'm going to start this way of life, I'm going to take my health in my hands and turn things around, and there's a period of time before you actually start. Usually because there's a whole lot of food still left in the house, there's planning to do, there are preparations to make. So what do you do in those days leading up? Well, my top tip would be to actually consider starting to reduce the sugar in your diet during that period of time. If anything can help the sugar withdrawal when you start a ketogenic diet, is actually reducing the amount gradually before you start. So I would definitely consider particularly the more obvious sources of sugar in your diet. For example, you may eat chocolate, or you may have sugary drinks, you may take two teaspoons of sugar in your coffee or your tea. It's those sorts of things, that sort of obvious sugar that's easy to remove from the diet. It's the less obvious ones and the more hidden forms of sugar that people feel or find more difficult to actually find and remove from the diet. So all those obvious sugars and all that obvious refined carbs, your white bread, your pasta, your rice, and all those sort of white potatoes and things like that, it's quite easy to see those carbohydrates. And in the days before you start your ketogenic way of life, it can be really helpful to start reducing and avoiding those types of foods. It'll give the body a little bit of a head start on withdrawing from those things. Wow, we got 11 people watching. That's fantastic. If you are there, guys, remember, I need you to comment on the video. So make sure you say hello, or you just say where you're watching me from, or you just ask me a question. That's absolutely fine, because it is a live Q&A, so feel free to do that. Okie dokie. So the next tip then, once you've reduced the carbohydrates in the days leading up to your ketogenic lifestyle beginning, the next thing would be to have at least a week-long meal plan already done before you start. I read a post today on Facebook, not in our group, but in a different group, of a person who was on day one and didn't really know what to eat or what they were going to eat, and had ended up just eating junk food and a sort of a diet cola. So, you know, it wasn't a great day, it wasn't a great start, and it can be really demotivating if you're going into this huge lifestyle change. You don't actually know what you're going to be doing. So I would say that one of the top tips is have at least that first week, when you're going to go through your sugar withdrawals, when you're going to have your cravings, when you're going to have, if you have any, of the sort of symptoms of the transition into ketosis, have that first week, which is the toughest week, planned out in advance. Have an idea of what you're going to eat during that time, and make sure it's plenty. You're going to need at least 3 meals, if not 4 meals a day. You're going to need snacks because the hunger's going to be there and the cravings are going to be there. So what I would say is have at least a week's worth of meals planned out, so you don't have to think when sort of hunger strikes what you're going to eat, because you'll always have an idea. And what that'll allow you to do is go shopping to make sure you have the ketogenic foods in your fridge and in your cupboards that you actually need to make this plan work in the first week, because that's vitally important too. So yeah, that's definitely the thing, is a bit of prior preparation for at least that first week, because during that week you're going to learn so much. It's such a steep learning curve when you sort of enter into this lifestyle, that during that first week you're going to learn loads. But during that week, you're also going to feel really challenged, and all the biggest issues that potentially could come up may happen in that first week. So it's a really good idea that you don't have to overthink your food in that first week. You just have ketogenic food planned out, and all you've got to do is eat it. And what that does is just allow you to relax and look after yourself, and have plenty of rest and things like that. Okie dokie. So my next top tip, again, if you like my tips, please do comment saying that you're enjoying them, or if you disagree, or if you've got any questions regarding what I'm saying, then do obviously drop a comment for me, and I will see it. Okie dokie. So top tip number 3, have your electrolytes ready. Now, the vast majority of the symptoms that people experience during the first few weeks of a ketogenic lifestyle are to do with electrolyte imbalances. Things like headaches, nausea, muscle cramps, low energy, you know, cravings for sugary foods. Lots of these things can actually be linked to not replacing our electrolytes. And when we do start a ketogenic lifestyle, the first thing the body does is releases a lot of water, and with that water comes a lot of your minerals. So we do actually need to be replacing those electrolytes, and we probably need more electrolytes than we think that we do. We certainly need to be controlling the symptoms of low electrolytes. So when we talk about electrolytes, we're actually talking about minerals. We're talking about sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Now, these 4 things used to be incredibly easy to come by. They're in our water, they're in our soil, they're in our food. We ate lots of dirt with our diet, and we were quite sort of high on minerals in terms of our diet. However, we now have very clean food, our soils are somewhat depleted, and our drinking water is filtered of a lot of these minerals. So we are lacking in these minerals, and when you come away from processed foods, which are sometimes fortified, then again we're going to have to start looking for these minerals, and often we simply cannot get enough to actually replace them fast enough when we enter this ketogenic state. So be aware that you may need to be replacing your electrolytes. And like I said, the things that would indicate this is the case would be things like headaches, nausea, lightheadedness, muscle aches, cramps, things like that. It's not normal to feel terrible when you go into ketosis. It's normal to actually feel great. The terrible side effects tend to come from either a lack of electrolytes or electrolyte imbalance, so someone's taking lots of sodium but completely forgotten about potassium, for example, or they're simply not fueling their body with enough fat, because obviously once the body hasn't got any sugar to burn, it's going to be desperate for energy. So definitely, if you're feeling terrible, there's something not 100% right there. Sugar withdrawal is not pleasant. However, you shouldn't feel like you're on death's door either. So definitely worth having your electrolytes ready and having an understanding of your electrolyte needs before these symptoms occur, because believe me, spending an entire night unable to sleep because your legs are cramping is really, really awful, and thinking that you can't get your magnesium until the next day when the shops are open. So definitely have them in advance. You are going to need them. So you're going to need some Himalayan pink salt for sodium, or sea salt, or good grey salt. You're going to need some potassium. Now, potassium is in large amounts in green vegetables. However, if you're not someone who can literally eat plates and plates and plates of greens a day, then you may want to find something like a potassium salt. In the UK, it's called low salt. Basically, it's a low sodium alternative to salt, and you can find it next to salt in a shop. And you may want to look at magnesium as well. You can supplement with magnesium. There's several different types, and it'll depend on your particular symptoms as to which magnesium will probably help the most. So definitely worth looking into. The Epsom salts are fantastic for a bath. They're magnesium, and the skin actually absorbs magnesium really well, and Epsom salt baths are one of the most natural ways for us to increase magnesium, so definitely worth looking into, and fantastic if you are achy or having cramps, so definitely look into that. Okie dokie. So the other top tips for starting, once you've got your electrolytes, I would say, is to stick to really simple foods and really simple meals. I think it's easy when you get involved in the ketogenic community to actually get really overwhelmed with the complexity of some of the foods, some of the meals, and some of the meal plans that are available out there. And I think some of that overwhelm can become very demotivating and confusing, and lead to a lot of the confusion with what is a ketogenic lifestyle, which foods are keto, and this sort of thing. My top tip would be to stick to meat, poultry, fish, dairy, vegetables, green vegetables, and fat. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but believe me, there are a lot of meats, there are a lot of poultry, there's a lot of fish, there's a lot of green vegetables, there's a lot of fats out there. There's a lot of foods that we can actually eat very safely, very cleanly, very ketogenically, without going into complex recipes or complex meal plans or anything like that. We can keep things very, very simple. And one of the resources that you can use in the public group is the KISS food lists that we have there. They actually allow you to go and shop, to buy those things, so that you can actually feel reassured to eat them and know that you're eating keto. So I would definitely use them as a resource, but keep things really, really, really simple. The first couple of weeks of your ketogenic lifestyle is probably not the time to be experimenting and trying to get really creative, because unless you have that solid knowledge of keto, you may sort of go a little bit astray. And I know that certainly happened to me, so I'm speaking from experience when I talk about making mistakes, because I think I've made every single mistake that I ever talk about. Okie dokie. So keeping things simple then. The next thing I want to talk about is whether we should be thinking about calories when we first start the ketogenic lifestyle. Now, I've never really thought about calories. I went through it for about a month, reduced my calories right down, felt terrible, couldn't get warm, barely wanted to get out of bed. So I've been there and done it a little bit. But in terms of whether it was necessary for me to lose my weight, no, it certainly wasn't. Because when I started to lose weight, it was very much on a more of a sort of Atkins diet, really, than keto. However, I certainly didn't count any calories when I started, and I certainly don't count calories now unless one of you guys asks me, you know, how much do I eat, or, you know, that sort of thing. And then I have to go away and actually work out what I ate in the day and try to get a number for you guys. So it's not something I look at. And I would certainly say that when we start, the most important thing we need to think about is eating ketogenic foods and removing non-ketogenic foods. That is the only focus when we start. If we're also dealing with things like hunger due to calorie restriction, if we're also worrying about tracking and measuring our food and weighing everything and doing shopping lists so that we get all our macros in order, these sorts of things, again, can be massively negative in terms of being overwhelming and being sort of demotivating for people. And it's one of the reasons that I hear people say that the ketogenic lifestyle is unsustainable, because believe me, the way some people do it is there's no way I could possibly do it. So I would say one of my top tips, and again, this is my personal opinion, what you do is completely up to you. However, I really do think that when we start that ketogenic lifestyle, we do have to make sure that we are actually not worrying about calories, and we're actually eating to our hunger. And when we're getting those cravings early on, that we are actually able to eat ketogenic food. I'm not talking about people who are 6 months in about eating it, you know, every time they think about chocolate. But what I'm saying is when we're first going into ketosis, when the cravings are severe and the body's desperate for fuel, we should be fueling the body. We should reassure the body and reassure the metabolism that we're not starving, and that we can actually find energy in the environment. Now, let's just turn my comments on 2 seconds, because I want to make sure that, there we are. Hi, everyone. Hi, Susan. I don't count macros, but when I do, I either use Carb Manager or sometimes I use Chronometer, only because for me, the overall nutrition is more important than the macros. So I'm actually looking at my omega-3s, I'm looking at my minerals, I'm looking at my vitamins. If I want to put a plan together for you guys, or if I'm writing something about nutrient-dense foods, then I'm looking far wider and far deeper than protein, fat, and carbs, because ultimately they mean nothing. It's all about fueling the body in the right way, and the body treats all different types of nutrients very differently. For example, let's talk about a fat. WD-40, it's a lubricant oil, it's a fat, however I wouldn't eat it. So yeah, I tend to use, if I use anything, it's either Carb Manager, if it's just a quick calculation, or if I want to look at the nutrients, it's something I look at Chronometer, but I only do it for you guys, I don't do it for myself. Yeah, it's lovely to see you all. Let's go up the top. I want to make sure I'm picking, see what everyone's done. Wow, we've got people from everywhere. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's nice to have you all on a live. It's quite late for me. It's gone 1 o'clock in the morning, but okay. So how much salt and potassium? This is about managing your symptoms. Everyone's going to have very different needs when it comes to minerals. Some of us are quite deficient in minerals when we start this journey and others aren't. So we're going to have to find our own balance. But you can overdose on these things. So what I would say is I use minerals to control symptoms. When I feel good, I'm having enough. I don't overuse minerals because things like potassium can be dangerous in large amounts. So in terms of how much minerals and how much electrolytes we're actually using, we're using enough to feel good, and that's it. We can trust our bodies and listen to our bodies when it comes to those sorts of things. Hi Marvin, nice to see you. Okay. Yeah, and I just mentioned that, didn't I? Yes, you can take too many electrolytes. The side effects, well, they can be pretty scary, actually. So don't be putting tablespoons of potassium in your food. Okay, it's called no salt. Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Yeah, it's lovely. Okay. So we'll move along then with the next top tip. Again, if you have any questions, guys, do put them up. I can see your comments there. So do comment. Again, if you do comment, then you're going to get that 50% off code, which is fantastic. And what that'll allow me to do is not just get some of the plans out there, but also start to populate that members only group, which is going to be amazing. Okie dokie. So next top tip is, and you know, not everyone agrees with me on this. However, my next top tip is you need to go cold turkey with sweet food. And I mean all sweet food. And I know that you're going to go, no, my berries, my swerve, my stevia, no, it's got to go. It's probably the best thing I ever did in my journey was to finally let go of sweet food. Do I miss desserts? No. Of course I don't. I just eat more steak. Do I miss sweetener in coffee? Well, luckily I didn't drink it with sugar anyway, so that's good. Do I miss fruit? No. I love vegetables, and what I love most is the results of actually making these decisions. It's really been worth doing, and the fewer carbs and the fewer sweeteners you have, the less you want them. That is how it works. So yeah, going cold turkey sounds scary when you're still in that midst of the carb addiction. You're still eating that sort of stuff. It sounds scary. However, the process only takes a couple of days when you go cold turkey. If you continue to use substitutes for those cravings, then obviously your brain is going to keep looking for that type of food, so it may take longer, which is why I say to people that you can't really substitute sweet foods for these keto sweeteners, because the brain is one thing and our emotions are another thing and the body is another thing. So even if we're not spiking as much insulin when we eat our stevia as we would when we eat sugar, our brain is still really enjoying that sweetness, and will still continue to look for that in our food. So yeah, it's understanding that eating is more than just this physiological process and insulin. It's also about our relationship with food, and ultimately food is just a fuel. It's not for our entertainment, it's not a comfort, it's purely a fuel for our bodies, and we should eat like we give a damn about our bodies, and sometimes that means switching off that part of the brain that's constantly looking for those treats and that comfort and those crutches. So yes, takes a few days and stings a little bit, but that's my tip to you. You can choose to do with it as you please, but I know from personal experience that just letting it go was one of the best things that I've done, and they doesn't need to come back then. Okie dokie. Right, let me scroll down to make sure I've got all these comments. Okay. I had 35 and I got 45 and I can't find the rest. They're here somewhere. It always happens when you're live, isn't it? You think you know how to use the internet, but anyway, keep the comments coming and hopefully I will be able to see them. Okay, so after going cold turkey then, I think it's really important to understand what resources that you have. And you guys in the group have a lot more resources than I certainly had, because I didn't really get involved in the ketogenic eating community till about 6 months into my journey. And I spent those first 6 months, firstly, in denial a little bit. I didn't tell a lot of people the reason that I was losing weight. I hadn't admitted to people that I had been diagnosed with an obesity-related illness. People didn't know I was diabetic. And yeah, it was a lonely couple of months, I think, of my husband being really resentful that things were changing in the household, of me being unable really to understand how to do the diet properly. Like I said, I calorie restricted for a lot of the time. I did a high protein, low fat version at the beginning, which was very, very difficult. I struggled with electrolytes because I didn't really know all that much about them. So it was really, really tough. So you guys in the group have this fantastic resource of all this information to help you start. So one of the things that I would say is use the group. There's definitely people here who've experienced whatever it is that you're going through. Of course, there'll be the odd occasion where we have a rare occurrence, but a lot of us have been along this journey, and will be able to not just empathize with you, but also be able to offer you some information which may help you along the journey as well. So definitely use the group as much as you can. Like I said, there's loads of things in the files as well. You've got the food lists. You've also got that demonstration day showing that, you know, this is not calorie restricted. You can eat what you like and you can eat plenty of food and things like that. So use the demonstration day to understand that you don't have to go without meals, certainly when you start, and that everything else sort of follows on from there. There's also the KISS plate. Now, this is a fantastic resource because when you're not using a tracker, and I don't use a tracker and I don't think anyone needs one, but when you're not using a tracker, you do need to have some visual representation of what a ketogenic plate of food looks like. So when we're talking about high fat, moderate protein, low carbs, what are we talking about? So you can use the KISS plate, which shows that there's a generous portion of low carb green vegetables. There's a moderate serving of protein, but there's also a good serving of good, healthy, natural fat on that plate. So it's not just the fat from the meat, but it's also the fat that we cook with, and there's also added fat as well. So we're looking at dressings and sauces and adding butter to our vegetables and that sort of thing. So you can have a look at that KISS plate to understand that there's some vital ingredients in a ketogenic meal to keep you healthy, to keep you happy, but also to make sure that your metabolism stays really healthy. Because if you drop that metabolism, not only could you damage your thyroid and lose your hair, but you could also just end up with a slow metabolism, which stops you losing weight, which, you know, it's not the name of the game really. So hopefully you can see that plate and understand that we're eating adequate amounts. When we start off, we're eating our 3 meals a day, we've got snacks and everything else, and it's gradually that things change. So so don't be scared of what gets talked about in the group. Lots of these things that you're hearing are for further on down the journey. So when you start, it's very much a very simple process. Okie dokie. So other resources that you've got then, you've got the 28-day meal plan and beginner's guide, which is coming out on Tuesday. Yeah, so that's coming out, and the beginner's guide and the 28-day meal plan is just that really. It's very plain English. It's for the beginner, so please excuse me if you've been ketogenic for quite a while. However, it does break things down into very simple terms to give people a very simple launch pad to start their journey. The meal plan, again, very simple foods, things that everyone can find in their supermarket. There's no complex ingredients, there's no complex recipes, and I've tried to do as many sort of batch cooked meals, meal prep stuff to save you as much time in the kitchen as possible, because I hate cooking, and I know some of you guys do as well. So yeah, so you can get as creative as you want. However, the meal plan is very, very basic and easy. Okay, so I've got 50 comments and I still can't see any of the new ones. It's really annoying. Let's see where they are. Still miss sweets. Yeah. Yeah, Renee, I do understand, and it does take a long time. However, I think it's really important to understand how this idea of a sweet tooth came about. Now, it's actually our gut bacteria that determine what we sort of crave and what we eat, and they have a huge impact as well on our insulin response. So you've actually, when you've got a sweet tooth, you are actually proliferated, sorry, it's very late, with gut bacteria that actually like sweet food. Once you stop eating the sweet food and you stop eating the sweeteners and the carb alternatives, or the things that make remind your body of carbs, those gut bacteria actually die off, and you can replace them through probiotics with other bacteria that remove that sweet tooth. I know, crazy, but true. So yeah, but there's also those emotional connections, aren't they, with different foods. And I know that I've got sort of strong childhood memories of different sort of meals. One of the strongest ones for me is my grand's ham and parsley sauce. Now, my mum who's watching is gonna laugh, but it's one of my favourite ever meals. Not something I can eat without replacing the mash with cauliflower anymore. However, it's that really strong connection with my grandmother's house, and that feeling of being sort of spoilt rotten by my grandmother. So that's one of the things that definitely is that emotional connection, and I do get it. However, we can change our relationship with food, and eating sort of a very simple diet, doing a lot of food preparation helps to actually put food in its place. Because its place is in fueling the body, and like I said, you know, we can start to address this idea that food is for entertainment, or food is love, or food is all these things and this is just cultural things that we've put on food. Ultimately, like you said, it's carbohydrates, it's protein, it's fat, it's vitamin A, B, C, D, etc. So yeah, we can start to have a think differently about food. Okay. What are your views on a glass of red wine with steak dinner? I wouldn't say you have to have red wine. Nice rosé, a white wine, gin and tonic, slimline tonic, obviously, don't have sugar. Yeah, I do have a glass of red wine occasionally, because I am still alive. So yeah, but what you'll notice is that you have a very low tolerance to alcohol. So one glass of red wine feels like about 4. So do be aware that when you're in ketosis, alcohol has a completely different effect, and the after effects of alcohol are really quite tough when you're ketogenic as well. So just be aware that you probably can't handle as much alcohol as you used to. So just be aware of that. And obviously your body will burn off that alcohol before it goes back to burning fat. So it does stall your weight loss during the time that you're actually processing that alcohol through the liver. The liver can't process the alcohol and create ketones at the same time, which is why we feel so flipping dreadful when we've been drinking and we're in ketosis, because we just run out of energy, basically. Thanks, Terry. Okay, is there a way of telling if we have a slow metabolism or if we are repairing it? People with a slow metabolism will normally have been calorie restricted and will have stalled. So basically what's happened is they've calorie restricted, they've stopped losing weight, so they've eaten less. Their body's compensated again, and it will go lower and lower and lower. People with a low metabolism are often quite cold. They have problems with their thyroid. They have problems with their nails, their hair, their skin, their overall energy levels. So those are things that you would be an indicator. And of course, the other thing is the inability to lose weight quickly, because when you have a fast metabolism, when you make changes in your diet, like you go on a ketogenic lifestyle, or even if you did drop calories, you would lose weight very rapidly because of your high metabolism. So those people who struggle to lose weight, who have been calorie restricted and have continued to restrict calories lower and lower, they're normally the ones who will struggle on any way of eating because their metabolism is low. So how do you heal the metabolism? Well, gradually. You would gradually increase the amount of nutrient-dense foods in the diet, and you would gradually increase the number of calories of fat and protein in the diet. Increasing the carbohydrate calories will obviously lead to weight gain, because that sort of spikes insulin, so we don't want to do that. However, what we need to do is give the body more energy to burn, and once the body is in that what it sees as an environment of plentiful food and of bountiful food, then the metabolism is going to be reassured in that it can start to speed up again. So it's a gradual process, and a lot of people get worried about weight gain. It can happen. That's it can happen. If you've been eating half the amount of food, then potentially when you start healing that metabolism before it catches up with what you're giving it, it could potentially start storing those calories. However, eventually what you do is you awaken the metabolism, you start to feel hungry, you start to feel more interested in food, and as long as you keep giving the body the correct calories, so I'm talking about fat calories, I'm talking about protein calories, I'm talking about green vegetables and fiber and these things, as long as you give the body good food, then it will be reassured, it will wake up the metabolism, and you'll start to burn that energy. The body will always find an equilibrium. So if you start to increase the number of calories you eat, your metabolism will come up with it. But like any of the body processes, it can take time. But I've definitely seen it happen, absolutely. And I also know people who've written about eating ketogenic at 5,000 calories a day and not putting on weight. So it's nothing to do with calories, it's about the metabolism, and it's about our hormones. So yes, you can wake it up again, but you do need to start fueling the body. That's how you do it. You start supporting your thyroid, you start supporting muscle growth and things like that. So it's all about feasting and fasting to get that human growth hormone, but also those metabolism boosting high calorie, high fat meals as well. Okie dokie. Very excited. Good. I'm excited too. I know it's it's the early hours of the morning and I'm still excited. Cheryl, and eat bacon. Yes. Okay. Your Nancy's got a sweet tooth as well. Okay. Side effects, too much potassium. I think we've gone over that. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I look awesome. It's funny. It's all makeup. No, I'm joking. I'm not a makeup wearer, to be honest. But yeah, I do look good. I certainly look a lot better than I did 2 years ago. If any of you saw the photos of me 2 years ago, I did look about 50 years old, which is not great, is it? Considering I'm not 40. But yeah, it's all down to keto and putting my health first for once. I'm always one for watching the kids, but yeah, occasionally I have to do myself as well. Okie dokie. So I've come to the end of my top tips. I hope that that gives you an idea of how best to start. And if you've got any questions about that, then please drop them, or any questions in general, because these sessions are actually for you. So if you've got any burning questions, that you want to ask, then please do. I know we ask a lot, don't we, in the group anyway, and we're always chatting with each other, so you can continue to do that. But obviously this is a really good opportunity for me to put a bit more of my personality, because sometimes it's really difficult to interpret things on Facebook and the written word, isn't it? And sometimes the sort of my sarcasm and the British wit gets lost a little bit, and I think I think maybe people think I'm being really stern, and I'm never stern. So it's always, you know, with a touch of British salt there. But yeah, so the next things to be aware of, guys, like I said, Tuesday this plan is launching. I'm going to send you all a private message. Please don't be really offended if it's in the morning, because I'm going to have to go to bed soon, because I've got to go and grab my son in the morning. So so I will be sending them. If you haven't had them by lunchtime tomorrow, then please let me know, because everyone will be getting that discount code. I'm going to be launching the members group the day before. So the members group is actually going to be open from Monday, and anyone who's not planning to buy the plan but wants to become a paid member, the reasons that you would do that is that it's going to allow me basically to do this full time, and to be able to really start upping the amount of content, upping the amount of sort of attention that I can give to people. I'm going to be doing a weekly sort of education piece, so I'm going to be doing a video every week on a theory aspect of the ketogenic lifestyle. There's going to be a weekly Q&A just like this, and there's also going to be a weekly, and this is so exciting, but a weekly video conference that you guys can all jump in on, so we can actually get together as a group, be face to face, and start supporting each other a little bit more like that. So there's going to be a weekly get together as well on the internet, and again, very, very late at night. However, I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to do that. There's going to be daily themes as well, so it's going to be far more structure. There's going to be admins in there as well to actually make sure that everyone gets full attention, and it's going to be really a place of super ketoers, really, and it's going to be a strictly really positive group, and we're going to just really start to push forward and to solidify what makes KISS so different, and what makes our approach to keto so unique and individual, and so approachable, and so doable for people, because ultimately we want the rest of the population to wake up to eating like a human being is evolved, and the way to do that is not to have people counting every single morsel of food that they're putting in their mouth. That's not going to happen. We need to find a way that we can make this message a mass message. So, you know, the more that we get together and use that group, I think that potentially we're on to something as a group of people. So, yeah, how do you get involved in the members group? You head over to the website. If you haven't seen the website, first of all, it's in the group on the right-hand side. However, it's also www.kiss-keto.com. So feel free to head over there and follow the instructions to join as a member if that's what you want to do. Again, if you've got any questions about anything or you need help to get involved, please let me know. And I'm so excited about doing this for you guys, but also what this means for me and my family is just unbelievable as well. It's really a dream come true, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be doing it. Okie dokie. So I will leave you guys to it. It's really late and I've had an amazing time. Let me just check if I've missed anything else. Got 72 comments. This is amazing. Won't let me see them all. Okay, I can't see any more of these. Why can't I see any more? Okay, I'm gonna have to read the rest of the comments after the video, because for whatever reason, it just will not scroll past Terry's so excited. But I know there's loads of comments below that, so I'm just going to have to end the broadcast and then go and read them. And obviously, I will answer every single question that people have put in here. And like I said, if you've commented on the video, then I will be sending you that 50% code to use on Tuesday. However, it is valid all of April, just in case you don't want to use it on Tuesday. So yeah, that's it for now. I'm going to be doing some other lives because I know that this is crazy late for people in Europe, and especially people in Asia as well. This is just beyond a joke for them, and in fact they're probably getting up for work now. So I'll be doing some other lives at different times over the next couple of days to make sure that everyone who wants that 50% discount code gets it. Like I said, if you want to be a member, you don't particularly want the 28 days of meals because you've got your keto rock on already, then obviously just join as a member. And if you need any help with anything at all, you know where I am. I will always answer people's questions. If I don't do it immediately, it's normally because I'm asleep and you're in the US, but I will always try and get to you as quickly as I can. That's it. I'm tired. I love you all very much. You're amazingly important to me, and I will see you all soon. Oh, hang on. Have I got more? No, still can't see it. I'm going to answer it in a second. I'll leave you go. And again, if you do have any more questions, please drop them below and I will answer them. And I will see you in the group tomorrow morning once I've had a bit of a sleep. So bye from me.